everybody? It's been a while since I've done a My Thoughts video, hasn't it? Today I want to talk about something that came out not too long ago, which is a Murder Drones fan episode by Gulen Fuchsia? Is that how I pronounce it? Anyway, back in early June, I watched this video come out, and when I tell you I wanted a real episode just based off of this, like I almost wrote like a whole entire story in my notes app about it. And then my wish was granted on June 17th when Intermission came out. The full fan episode finally came out and I was so excited. I slept through half of the live because my sleep schedule is whack. I'm just gonna go through it and give you my thoughts. So the introduction to this fan episode kind of reminded me of Digital Circus episode 2, you know, with Pomni waking up and all that stuff. But I feel like Uzi having nightmares about the solver is a really good concept, and it just segues into N teaching Uzi how to fly, which, by the way, is such a good idea. It's so cute. Like, oh my gosh. I also love the way that they took advantage of their visors, like they did for V, having like threat levels up, and with the dog face, which I know is in episode 5, but N doing this is also adorable. Also, V biting N is like so real. And then this scene, beautiful. Also, the Hotel Transylvania 2 reference. I love the scene though. I also really love the montage that they did for Uzi, V, and N, like Uzi getting her head stuck in the lamppost because, like, we all know this would happen. And then when Uzi loses her hair, and then N and them swap their hairs, and then V takes a picture with her phone that maybe was given to her by Lizzie. Just a theory. Then right before the flight test, it highlights Uzi drinking motor oil, which I think is a really good detail, which I just don't think gets highlighted enough in the actual episodes, because we can see Nori drinking it and then Uzi drinking it in episode 5. I just think it's a really good detail. And when Uzi gets her vision when she's doing her flying test, it's just really good, and N's reaction to her not getting up is just the flow of the characters is just phenomenal. One thing that makes sense in the plot of this episode is the fight scene, which I personally am not a big fan of the fight scene. Like, I get it, it does make a lot of sense in this episode, but if you're watching this in canon order, then, you know, it's just kind of fight after fight. But hey, I'm no expert on scripting. I just thought this was kind of weird, but it does make a lot of sense in the episode as it proceeds. My favorite part in this fight scene is when Sin says, and I quote, "Invade your personal space." Just that line is just, it's so good. Also, when Uzi finally wakes up for being blasted, V still being upset, and N desperately trying to keep Uzi alive, it's just so heartbreaking because you know N's not had any friends like this, and just to watch her leave at the end is just the sugar on the cream. It's so sad. When V finally is just like, hey, we have to actually kill that emo girl. V's body language, like, I'm gonna be real with you, reminds me a lot of Vidya from Tinkerbell. Like, just look at her.
I make forces of nature. You make pots and kettles.
So she can beat a senseless and we're just supposed to be okay with that. I see.
Which I love, by the way. She's so girl boss. Anyway, after this crazy fight scene, V goes looking for Uzi, and the way Uzi is voice acted is just so good. And this scene genuinely broke me. Like, oh my gosh, it gives such a good segue into episode 5. Like, oh my gosh. I also, again, love how this kind of shows how V and Uzi aren't constantly trying to kill each other throughout the entire series, because in actual episodes, we go from V being chained to the floor of the landing pod to literally her going a camp trip. Like, what? I just think this does show a lot of the bond between these two that just isn't in the actual episode, which, thank you. Thank you so much for actually adding this, because I need to see them bond. And then V takes Uzi's hand and kind of helps her with it. Yeah, I don't really know how to explain this scene. I just love how this expands their friendship in such a way that's just like, even with no dialogue, just except for a few sorries, just the people who scripted this are absolutely amazing. Just, there's no dialogue, but it's still just so sincere. Then N comes and they do a little fast forward to the top of their corpse wall thing, and then V kind of has a mental breakdown. It's just very, like, I want to say poetic, but that's not the word. It just gives very good insight into V's life and how she really feels. Like, I know this isn't a real episode, but the way that they nailed the characters is just, it's just so awesome. Uzi's reaction to this is also just really good. They did the characters so well. That also leading into Uzi talking about going into their memories is also just a really good transition in general. I don't know if it's just me, but I love how these characters are AI, and it just makes it look like Uzi hears what V is saying, processes it, and then gives an answer like an AI. It's just a really good detail. Also, in this scene, when Uzi gives out the information that V was being nice to her...
Oh no! Another empty threat. Admit it. You found a nanospark of warmth in your heart to care about me.
It kind of came off as Penelope Vaughn's speech from Wreck-It Ralph, which is something that I love.
You're mimicking
me.
And I've always gotten the vibe of that from Uzi. Anyway, then Uzi flips off V, which is something I always wanted. And then ends proud that Uzi's flying, and their expressions and the voice acting were just phenomenal. And I will get into that outro when I finish talking about everybody's favorite, the cinnamon roll, the one you all know, N. Yeah, N in this episode was just really sweet. I mean, he always is, but the fact that he's literally fighting his, like, sacrificing his life for Uzi's is just, it's so good. And then the angst here is even better. I love and hate how he is, you know, like, trying to, I guess, like, exterminate Uzi because, you know, like, she's dangerous and, you know, it's sin. But then N is just desperately fighting, just like, hey, no, we're not killing her. And she's just like, no, you have to do this. And, you know, N does eventually, you know, blast her, and I feel like that's pretty good character growth for N. But of course, this is an official episode, so it really doesn't count canonically, sadly. But yeah, the way he paid attention to her having a bad dream and then making a solution about it, just being all like, oh yeah, we're gonna help you fly, and we're gonna, you know, fix the stuff in your head, and always just, you know, looking out for Uzi is really, really sweet. But I think one thing that they could have done maybe a little bit better in this episode is N obviously caring for V instead of just seeing her as an enemy. I mean, of course, N obviously does care about Uzi a lot more than V, but, you know, we don't want to see that. That's not in the actual episode. To make it a little bit more realistic, I would have said, hey, N should pay more attention to V. And of course, you know, he did. I mean, we have this scene behind the whiteboard. But something that N does do in actual episodes is that he oversees V, and he puts Uzi as his first priority because he feels bad for her, obviously. And V and N are basically in the same situation, giving the illusion that Uzi is in a much worse situation, which she kind of is because she's also getting possessed by the main antagonist of the show. But he basically sees V as a second problem he needs to fix and another person he needs to care for, which is really sad. But just the way that he cares about Uzi and desperately wants to keep her alive is just, it's so heartbreaking to see him have to go through all of this stuff and to literally shoot her head off. But anyway, let's get to that intro. And before that, I just wanted to say, I like the characters' voices glitching noises. I thought they were really cool.
And it didn't work. So now we're doing things my way.
You gave so much attention to the details. The scripting was great. It definitely deserves all of the attention it's gotten. I also love the little beeping noises and stuff that they made. It was just the detail. And I'll say it, I'm obsessed. Will there be more? Probably not, but I really did enjoy this. And if you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the description for you. Huge shout out to the voice actors for doing an amazing job on this, and the storyboard artists. Everyone who worked on this did absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait to see more from you guys. And if you are somebody who worked on this, hey, I love your guys' work. No, you guys did absolutely amazing, and I mean every single word of it. I've been stuttering the entire recording of this, so don't mind if I sound really suspicious, but I like how you guys didn't focus on one ship and stuff. It really does look like an actual episode, and just the flow of the characters, the scripting, and just, you know, like, even the animation, even though it's storyboard, it still has the flow that it needs to really become an actual episode. It looks absolutely phenomenal. Thanks for watching. This was my first video using a script, which is really cool, and thank you for all the support. Bye!